And can we start with that moratorium where it stands now?
I mean, our banks
Moratorium.
roughly about 35%. That's what we had said when we finished our results.
Okay.
More or less, it's still at the same level. About 34-35% of the book is in moratorium.
Do you think it is a wee bit more than peer banks maybe?
Well, see, the moratorium book heavily depends on what is your overall portfolio.
Yeah.
If you have, let's say, a very heavy gold loan business, then moratorium. My gold loan moratorium is less than 3%.
Okay.
So, but the business banking is 79%. So you will see a spectrum.
Okay.
So I think 35% is more or less the industry average.
Okay.
It won't be very different. And second, in moratorium, those banks that have given opt-in versus those who have given opt-out, the experience is different. For business banking, we gave an opt-out, which means everybody gets it. If you don't want, you can opt out. So the moratorium will be higher.
Okay.
For some businesses, we gave opt-in where it is less than 18%. So it's a very sort of wide range. 35% looks probably the better standard banks would all be in 30s. 30, 32, 34, 35, some are 38, but broadly that's what it is.
Yeah. And we have to wait some more time for how things will pan out regarding moratorium.
The real picture will emerge only in September. So after the moratorium period is over, the first September is the new March. Because in September is when you will do what you would have done in March. So March is the month of moratorium, right? So September is the new March. So you'll have to see how things are in September.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean,
as of now, you already mentioned now gold loan business. You have been very bullish on gold loan business now.
I remain very, very positive.
Yeah.
It's doing well, and I think it will continue to do well for foreseeable future. Both because there's a demand, gold prices are high, it's less cumbersome, it's easier for the bank and the customer. And I think slowly the customers have understood that banks are good gold loan lenders now. For about 4 years, it was slow.
Yeah.
I think it's coming back. So we are quite happy with gold.
Only your customers can avail gold loans from you?
No, I mean, once he avails, he becomes a customer.
That I understood, but before that, some banks...
We have no, I mean, normally
can a non-customer walk into your branch and become a customer for gold loan alone?
Yeah, he can. We have no, there is no limitation. Okay. I mean, certainly we'll try to cross-sell other products, but pure gold is fine. As long as the gold is bona fide and it's not stolen gold, we are happy to do it.
Okay. And where would you peg the growth, roughly, approximately this year, this quarter? Gold loan business growth, approximately, can you tell any figure?
No, last year, the full year, our gold loan business grew 29%, last financial year. Okay. I am hoping it will grow higher this year.
Yeah. Because for consumers also, there is not much avenue other than gold loans.
Yes, it is as I said, it's a win-win. We wanted, they wanted, it's easier, and we have innovated quite a bit on gold in the product, in the service, in the distribution. We have a Digi Gold, which we had a few years ago. We revamped it and launched it. So instead of keeping your gold in your own locker, keep it in the bank's locker, and you get an overdraft on it. So you only pay when you draw money. Otherwise, you don't pay.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. We are seeing great success with the product.
In the personal loan front, before COVID, the arrangements you have tweaked it much more in the during and after COVID.
We were not very big on unsecured personal loans. We normally don't do new to bank. We do existing customers based on track record. That for almost 18 months we were doing it digitally. So if you had an account with us, based on your account behavior, we would offer a credit line which you can click on your phone and take the money. And now we are much more tighter on that. Because generally we don't do unsecured credit in a very big way. Our philosophy over many years has been to be more conservative, which is why our NPA has never crossed 3%. Even when India's NPA is 10-odd%, Federal Bank has never crossed 3%. and net NPA has never crossed 1.3% or 1.5% maximum. So we've been conservative, and I'm happy to be conservative, which is the right thing for a bank. And
Co-branding credit card, how is it going now?
it's okay, but it's not a big part of our business, very small. But in the course of this financial year, maybe by end of March next year, we will certainly have our own card launch. We are working on it.
Coming to provision coverage ratio, sir, where does the bank stand now?
Our coverage ratio, including technically written off, is 73%, and without technical is 54%, 53 point something. Last quarter, we raised our coverage ratio by 800 basis points. We provided extra by 250 crores in Q4. You may have noticed we provided excess because we had some one-time gains on investments and treasury.
Yeah.
Entire money I put it into provisions. Otherwise, our profit should have been another 200 crores higher. We didn't want to do that. We had to be
That it is still lower than other peer banks, comparable peer banks.
No, at 73%, it's quite comparable. No, again, we must understand.
No, this 53. What is the difference? 53 and
73 is with technical write-off, and
Okay.
53 without technical write-off.
okay.
We must understand provision cover is created to ensure that when, God forbid, there is a loss, you have already provided so that it doesn't incrementally affect your book. Now, each bank has a different product mix. If you're a very high unsecured portfolio or your security levels are low, you need very high coverage. When you have a high security, you need a lower coverage. Federal Bank, we've been doing Ind AS reporting for 2 years. Indian Accounting Standards, the new accounting standard, IFRS equivalent. Our loss given default, which means when you have a loss, the maximum loss, when you have an NPA, the maximum loss on that account, if it's an unsecured, is 100%. If it is secured, let's say you have a house of 1 crore and the loan is, say, 1.2 crore, so it's 80 lakhs. Even the for sale value of the security instead of 1 crore is, say, 60 lakhs, you recover 60. Your loss is only 20 lakhs. So loss given default is only 20 lakhs. Our loss given default on the whole portfolio has never crossed 38%. When I have a coverage ratio of 53%, I have much higher coverage than the losses that I'll ever incur. So people have, with due respects, media doesn't understand anything. Chuma, they'll take one number and report. Sir, your PCR is this, your PCR is this. It's an explanation of explaining to them. Provision cover is to make sure in the event of a loss, you have covered, right? When our provision coverage is 53 or 73, depending on which number you pick, and the loss given default is 38%, you have excess coverage. I actually can release 15%. This quarter, we took up higher. From 46, we took it to 53 because we expected in the COVID world, losses can go up, your security value may come down. So the house which was 1 crore may suddenly become 80 lakhs, 70 lakhs. Which is why I said provide more, so it gives us the cushion. At 53% loss cover, we are okay.
And there was a specific COVID provision of 93 crore. Do you think it is sufficient as of now?
No, see, COVID provision has to be seen along with credit provision. COVID provision and credit provision is the same. COVID provision is not in the coverage ratio. It is treated as a standard provision. So when, God forbid, if an account becomes NPA, then you will take the COVID provision and put it in standard credit provision. So the COVID provision is only an extra provision created as a buffer. The requirement was only 31 crores. RBI mandate was 31. We provided 3 times mandate.
Yeah.
So not an issue.
How has been the remittance business, the impact on remittance business? You've been doing that.
No, remittance is doing extremely well. Whenever Middle East has any challenges, people, if they are relocating, they will bring the money in. And we are the best bank for that. Second is rupees at 76. Again, people will send money. So at this point in time, remittance is in very good shape. We'll see how the next 6 months go. We don't know what the situation will be in September, October, how the Middle East is going to be, how whether job losses are going to happen at big time or. Now the good news is oil has become slightly stronger. So they may not be having as many job losses as it was visualized. Right? So I've seen from Kuwait war, we have looked at this whole remittance stuff. People have been saying from that time, everything is over, Kerala will close down, Middle East oil economy and all. We have all seen, right? At least I've seen it from that time, and in the last 10 years, I've seen it very closely. These things, there will be some trouble, but they said some 6 lakh people will come back. I think 3 lakh people have come back or will come back. Certainly 2 lakh will go back. They may not go to the Middle East, they'll go to UK, they'll go somewhere. People will find livelihoods. 1 lakh people coming back, you can live with.
Yeah, Kerala can absorb it.
No, not me. Kerala can absorb it. Life will carry on, boss. These things will just move on.
And
we should all worry is COVID, what damage is it going to create in the next 1 year?
Yeah.
If that damage we can deal with, everything else is solved. That is unknown. That's a wild card.
And this must be translating to deposit growth, no?
Yeah, it will. In fact, we are sitting on excess liquidity.
Okay.
Yeah, because
no much credit growth.
Yeah, the market is, we are growing higher than the market, but there's no market growth, right? Demand has to come.
Yeah.
It will take some time, another 3, 4, 5 months. See, everything has come back about 75% of the original level, right? If you look at all across the country, the number of RTGS transactions, NEFT transactions, FASTag transactions, whatever you look, everything is between 65 and 75. By September, October, it may come to 85. And maybe by end of the year, it will come to 95, 100. But you were expecting 120 because you wanted to grow. So I think FY21, we will be lucky if business volumes are full year. See, 1 quarter is gone. First quarter is virtually no growth for anybody. Next quarter will be like 2-3% growth.
Of course.
Right? So the full year, if you grow 8-10%, you've done brilliantly. For banks.
Yeah, you have some wonderful people in your team, because a month back or so, your CFO was giving an interview or something. Maybe some discussion, something like that. So that time only we happened to just watch him. So it was.
Ashutosh, he's outstanding. He's outstanding.
It was really.
Our team is very good, boss. We are one of the best banks in the country.
Yeah, we are proud of that, sir.
We should be. Everybody here is a hero. Shalini Warrior, Ashutosh Kajuria, Harsh Dugar, Wilson Syriac, Jose Matthew, all are tigers.
Once COVID is, we all have to meet once. When your full team is there, we will.
Nowadays, everything is electronic. Even the person sitting on the next floor, I don't meet. I only meet electronically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I come to my office. I'm here full time. We do all meetings video. We don't meet people at all.
Yeah. So,
you have been telling about some cross-selling opportunities, how to tap the cross-selling opportunities. Can you tell some specific examples?
The whole personal loan book, which is almost 2,000 crores, we did it only by digital origination on existing customers. So if you are a customer of Federal Bank, you've been, let's say, a liability customer for 2 years, whatever, based on your average balance, based on your usage, we do a lot of data mining and we make a pre-approved offer to you and say, so-and-so, here is a credit limit of 50,000 available and you can click and take the money. Or now we've launched an Amazon, along with Amazon and a few others, EMI product. So if you are a Federal Bank customer and you're shopping on Amazon, you put in your card number, it runs a back-end engine. It immediately computes saying whether we can give you an interest-free EMI for 12 months. So if you buy 5,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees on Amazon, instantly you can make it an EMI transaction. So you will pay 0 interest over 12 months. And those is all done by back-end analytics, and therefore the cross-sell is based on existing customer behavior with the bank. We are data mining and continuously making cross-sell offers. And then usually, if you're a card customer, you'll have a liability relationship. If you're a liability customer, we'll give you an insurance. If we give you an insurance, we'll give you the usual stuff, everything that basically try to increase penetration per customer.
You are now mulling a new fundraise of rupees 12,000 crore, the 4,000 crore equity component. Can you take us through the specifics of that?
In the forthcoming AGM, we are looking to seek shareholder approval for getting a resolution passed. Once we have that, in the course of the next 12 months, we can raise equity if we need. Right now, we are not looking at any capital raise. It's an enabling resolution. But since the AGM is coming in July 16th, we will hopefully get the resolution approved by shareholders. And once that resolution is there, we will see how the market goes and where the capital requirement is. In our mind, at least till March 21 or first quarter calendar 21, we don't need new money. But the next AGM is next year this time, right? Usually it's June, July. So we are trying to get an approval in place so that whenever the need arises over the next 12 months, we'll raise money. Normally, in my last 10 years, we raised money only once. We are not a bank that goes to the market every 3 months, 3 years or something. We go once in like 5-7 years, depending on when we need. The last time we raised money was in 2017, July, at about 116 rupees. Today, the stock is on 56, 57 rupees. So certainly, the stock has had its own share of beating. Hopefully, we will come back to at least $100 in the next 1 year. So, which is when we should raise money.
But what about the other component, that component, that you're always up?
Even last year, we had 8,000 crores approval. We took 300 crores from the market.
That also happened in 2017, last time?
300 crores we raised, tier 2, we raised about 12 months back.
And any plans for acquiring any microfinance companies or any diversifications?
And right now, nothing on the horizon. But we are open to making acquisitions if something good comes up. But at this juncture, we should not rush to anything because we have to see how the credit portfolios of everybody behaves. So we'll be watchful at least 3-4 months to understand the credit portfolio. So we have nothing on the card. Like I said, do the basics right. Wait till September. See how the market shapes up, how the moratorium customers are behaving. Only then do anything next steps. Because this is a very unpredictable environment, right? So we are not doing anything at this juncture.
How was the startup fund? You had a startup fund. How was it?
Very modest, Chief. Very, very modest. See, the whole startup environment is facing a lot of changes and challenges. Right? Either you make it very big with private equity support, or you are not able to scale up and you are just folding up. The whole environment for startup is different from what it was, say, 3-4 years back. So we have the fund, but we have no major action going on.
You are there actively.
We are there. We have actually, along with 2 other funds, where we have put in money, and that's not the core expertise of our bank, right? So we have let them do it. We are feeding into that, and they are doing it.
And you are watching the economy in a very close quarters, how the things are unfolding and everything. And do you miss something? Is there any missing gaps that you see? That any suggestions?
The main thing is demand has to come back, right? There's a lot of liquidity, so that's not a problem. Banks have money and banks are willing to lend, provided there is a demand. For the demand side, banks cannot do much. So it has to be a bunch of things like the government intervention, the private sector getting excited by the opportunity and beginning to invest. And to some extent, like you said, there is a fear also, right? People are nervous about what is going to happen, health related. So economic activity is not at full blast. But having said that, like I said, 70-75% has come back. Some of the bigger cities, Mumbai, Chennai, are all still in very Chennai, Tamil Nadu, which was doing well, has gone into very severe lockdown. While Mumbai has opened up, unfortunately, Mumbai and Delhi are under extreme health issues, challenges, right? Virtually everybody we know has somebody who has some challenge in Mumbai, right? So to that extent, movement is still modest. People are quite watchful. So the full blast economic activity is at least 6 months away, or till that one of these vaccines or medicines work. In that context, demand stimulus is the most important thing. But even if you give a lot of money, demand comes when people are feeling better, right? You will not go and buy that extra shirt and pant and TV and fridge and car if you have a little nervousness. Right? I'm sure any of us in the last 3-4 months have not, first there are no chance to go. Even if there's a chance to go, we are not going to go and buy an extra something. Everybody's just buying essentials, food and medicine and right. So to that extent, this is a psychological challenge more than financial challenge. Financial, yes, but emotionally we have to charge up, and that's takes a little longer. Just as it came like this, it has to go like this.
Policy makers are not attending to it.
It's easy for us to say and probably true, but the problem is what will inspire people to spend more? Some confidence giving is required. The only good news in all this is if the stock markets start doing better, psychologically people will feel like, okay, the world has come back. If suppose somebody is holding a Reliance share, for him, life is fine, right? In fact, it's doubled.
Yeah.
Somebody is at a Reliance share, their value has gone up twice. Then they may be encouraged to go out and spend.
Even their partly paid share, which was 254 and all, was trading for 800.
$700.
The premium what people have been paying was 160, 170. So 260, 250 plus 170, that was the cost. So 800, but that is a very different, odd situation altogether. We don't know how it is going anyway, but it gives some sort of
Yeah, unfortunately, only when Western India, Mumbai, Gujarat, gets full blast, India will fire. Unfortunately, that part of country still needs some more action, health related. It's a fact, right? We can pretend that South we are big and all, but till Mumbai and Gujarat gets into full blast, India doesn't fire.
Very true, very true. Mumbai, at least Mumbai, otherwise,
Gujarat, Maharashtra are the
9% are working from home, no?
demand generation happens in Maharashtra and Gujarat in a very big way. Having said that, I think rural India is doing better. Farming, agri income will be better. So it won't be all bad news, but it will certainly not be what it should have been. If we were expecting India to be, say, from 2.8 trillion to 3.2 trillion, it won't. It may become 2.5 trillion, and then you have to work one more year. So everything gets reset by 18 months. Right? It goes back and then climbs back. So to that extent, it's an unfortunate outcome of COVID. I don't think anybody can escape it. So we just have to wear a wet towel around our stomach and sit quietly for.
Time is the real healer.
No choice. No choice. Prayers.
Yeah, true. So, thank you very much, sir. All the very best. Okay.
Good luck, guys. All the best. God bless.